Right now, people who have never written a single line of code are building real applications. The gap between I have an app idea and this is on my phone has basically collapsed. A tiny habit tracker, a game for their kids, a tool to make their job less annoying, a gift for a friend, and for the first time ever, that's actually possible. What unlocks all of it is knowing how to actually use AI tools like OpenAI's new Codex desktop application. So in this video, we're gonna build a real application from scratch and run it on your phone. It will work on Android and iOS. The app itself doesn't really matter, it's just the vehicle. What matters is the workflow. I wanna walk you through the exact 5-step process I use as a professional developer every time I start a new project. The workflow isn't Codex specific, it works with Claude Code, Cursor, whatever you use. Today we're doing one thing, getting an app running on your phone, iOS and Android. That's mile one. If you want to take it all the way to the App Store, I wrote a book on the full process. Yes, the title says Claude Code, but the workflow is the workflow. Same mental model, any AI you pick. If you're new here, I'm Beto. I've shipped mobile applications at Walmart, then at Expo as a developer success engineer, and now I run Code with Beto full-time. I've used the exact same workflow to ship applications to the App Store, and I've used it to build dumb little projects just for me and my wife. Both are worth it. Let's get into it. All right, let's get down to business. I've prepared a document for you that you can reference. I'm gonna leave it in the description. So the first thing that you need to do is install Codex, the desktop application. Once you install it, it's going to look something like this. Once you open it, we're going to come back to it in a moment. The second thing that you need is install Expo in your iOS or Android device. Now, at the time that I'm recording this video, the Expo Go latest version is 55, but it's actually not available in the App Store. Expo Go is, by the way, an application that you can find in the App Store. So if you open the App Store, search for Expo Go, you should see something like this in the App Store or Play Store. But if you notice here, this is version 54. And I want you to use the latest version, which is 55 at the time that I'm recording this video. So in order to get the version 55 in your phone, you can do it through the beta version. So to download the beta version, which is SDK 55, you can download TestFlight. TestFlight is an application developed by Apple that allows you to test beta versions of applications before they are released. So we can join the beta version for SDK 55. So in your iPhone, go to TestFlight, download this application if you don't have it yet, open it. Once you have it, you can actually open this link from your phone and that will allow you to join the beta version. So once you join the beta version, you should see it in the list of applications that you are testing. If you notice, Expo Go is using version SDK 55 in the beta version, okay? This is the one we want. I'm going to press install and after a moment, it's ready for us. We can open it. This is how Expo Go looks like. Now, for Android, it's not available on the Play Store as well. So in order to install the SDK 55 on Android instead of the one available in the Play Store, you can just go to the expo.dev Go website. And I'm here in my Android device here in the expo.dev/go website, and you can select the SDK version that you want to use here. So select 55, this is the version that we're using, and on Android, press install, download the APK. Once you download it, you can see it in your downloads. This is 55. Go ahead and install it and open it. Okay, just to make sure that we're using the correct version, you can go to the settings and the client version is 55, which means we are good to go. Okay, we have Codex, we have Expo Go in our phone. I would recommend that you have this blog handy, which is my favorite Claude skills. It's gonna be available in the document as well. We're gonna be using this skill. These are my favorite skills, the ones that I use and are available in my website. Make sure to check them out. That is optional. Then we need to install Bun. Now, Bun is actually a tool that allows you to download and manage all the building blocks that our application needs to run. So this is kind of like a tool that you just need to install once in your computer and you're done. Okay, you can use it every time. You can think of it as the App Store for code, because when we start a new project, a new application, we are basically just pulling code from repositories that are available thanks to other developers that have shared the code. Everything is open source. You just have to run this command to install Bun. If you're using Mac, copy this, or if you're using Windows, you can do this through the PowerShell. Copy this command The next thing that we need to do is go to Codex. This is how Codex looks like. Super simple. I actually don't have a project set up here, but that's okay. First thing that I want to do is install Bun. So on the top right, I'm going to press this icon to open this window down here. And in here, I'm going to select Terminal. Once you open the terminal, paste the command that we copied. It's gonna look something like this and hit enter. After a moment, it is installed and you can verify it by typing Bun version like this. And you should see something like this. Congratulations, you have Bun. And at this point, we are ready to create our project. Let's go back to the document and actually added 2 commands that you can use with Bun, now that we have it installed, to create a new Expo project using the template with the SDK version that we are using. If you remember, we're using 55, but if for any reason you cannot use 55 at the time that you are watching this video, you can also run the command with the version 54, which is the one available in the App Store. It's a bit older, but still works. Now, if the latest version at the time that you are watching this video is 56, you just go ahead and replace this 55 for a 56. Right now, we're using 55. Let's copy this command. This command is going to help us create the project. Okay, so in my Codex, I'm going to select the folder that I want to work on. Let's select Add New Project and use an existing folder. Now, I like to create my applications in my apps folder. I have this folder in my desktop, so you can select any folder that you want to create your application. You can select desktop if you want, but I'm gonna create it inside my apps. Let's open this folder. Now, again, let's go to the icon here to open the terminal. I'm gonna select terminal. And now if you notice, we are inside the apps folder. This is where I want to paste my command, create expo with template 55. Now you might be wondering why we cannot just prompt Codex to create this project. In my experience, it's just a waste of expensive tokens. And if you're a little bit scared about the terminal, don't worry, it's not that bad. And you actually need to become familiar with the terminal because you're gonna be running many commands as you develop your application. So let's hit enter. This is gonna ask me, what is my app name? Today we're building a habit tracker. Let's say habit tracker, and I'm gonna say Codex. You can name it whatever you want, but this is just the name of the folder that we are creating. So let's hit enter. This is going to create the project using SDK 55. So you should see something like this. The project is ready. Okay, we're good. We created the project. Now, let's go ahead and close this. Let's change the working directory. Again, let's use an existing folder. Inside the apps, now you'll notice that I have my habit tracker Codex project that I just created. So let's select this one. Okay, now we are positioned in the habit tracker Codex application. Now let's go ahead and start the project so that we can see how this looks like. I'm going to again open my terminal. You can open it on the right or at the bottom. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to close this one. This is the one that we used to create the project. Let's open a new one. Select again a terminal. Now notice that we are inside the habit tracker Codex. This is good. This is where we want to run the commands to start the project. So in here, you can type npx expo start and hit enter. After a moment, you should see a QR code like this, and Expo Go is running. This is basically us starting the application so that we can see what we have so far. So let's scan this QR code with our phone. So I'm gonna bring my phone. I already have Expo Go installed. And what I'm gonna do now is just open the camera and scan this QR code. You should see something that says open in Expo Go. Press open in Expo Go. Okay, and you are gonna see something like this. The reason for this is that now Expo requires you to have an Expo account to be able to use Expo Go. So you need to sign in to your account. You can just go to the profile here. Okay, I have signed it in. Let me try this again. I'm going to scan the QR code, open in Expo Go, and this time it's gonna work. All right, this is how it looks. We have an application running in our phone, and it's actually compatible with light mode. So if I switch to light mode, everything is going to work just great on a physical device. How cool is that? You can do the same for Android. Once we have the application running, we can actually just close the terminal and it's gonna still running. You can always go back at any time and look something like that. Another thing to notice in Expo Go is that you might need to refresh the application. So you can press this settings button and then press reload. So anytime that you need to refresh, if you make changes and you don't see them, just reload and you should be able to see some changes. Now, before we actually start planning for our application, I want to install some agent skills for Expo, which is what we're using to develop our application. So on the left side, we can go to the plugins, close this, and search for Expo. Here it is. These are agent skills that you can use to develop your application. The one that we care right now, it's building native UI. Building native UI skill allows Codex and the agents that you're using to create beautiful UIs using native components. So apart from that, I don't really care about these skills at the moment, so you can just turn them off and just press add to Codex and install Expo, and the plugin has been installed. Okay, perfect. So we can go back to the habit tracker, just press this little icon and you should come back to this view. Okay, so at this point we are ready to plan for our application. With Codex, you can select, by the way, the reasoning level. I'm gonna use high for now. You can use extra high and also select any other model. If you prefer, I would recommend 5.5, which is the latest. Now to plan, you can use the / command and then plan mode. Click on it, you'll notice that it is here now. So now we plan for our application. Planning is very important, especially if you're building something serious. You're gonna get better results by being as specific as possible. And this is something that I cover in my book. But for a simple habit tracker, just to show you how you can do this, we can say something like, let's create a plan to build a habit tracker application. I care about a minimalistic UI at the moment. Use the build native UI expo skill when building the UI. For each habit tracker, I care about having a title, description, and an emoji, and a color for each habit that we want to track. I want to have 2 tabs, one for my home screen, one for my settings, where I can toggle settings for the application. I'm not exactly sure at the time which settings I want to have, but definitely we need the settings screen. There we go. So apart from that, I'm thinking that I also want to store the habits, right? Everything I want to store it locally on a database. So for that, we can use SQLite, which is a database that lives on the phone. So let's ask Codex to plan for that. All the habits and the progress in the application, I wanted to save locally using an SQLite database so that we don't lose any progress. Now, since this is the first time that we're running this is the first time that we are kind of like touching the project, you can be vague. You can ask Codex for ideas if you don't have, right? So I think this is good to start working. Let's hit enter. Okay, and after a moment, Codex is going to ask me a couple things about the plan. This is great. This is where we actually decide which features we want to implement. So for example, what should habit progress mean in V1, right? Daily check-in, weekly targets, quantified counts, or you can write something else down here. So I'm going to keep it simple for now. Just select the recommended. Now, how much habit management should V1 include? This is the recommended. I'm going to select this one, but CRUD basically means create, read, update, and delete habits. Okay, so let's select this one. Now, which platform scope should the plan optimize for? Mobile first. You can also select a specific iOS version or Android version. Okay, so mobile. And after a moment, Codex comes up with the plan. Okay, so let's check the plan. The summary is that we're building a mobile first Expo SDK55 habit tracker. It looks good. It's the version that we're using. We're gonna use minimalistic native UI, 2 tabs, basically all we asked for. Now, since I'm technical, I'm happy that it's actually using this package, which is Expo SQLite, to preserve the packages. But if you're not technical, don't worry about this. The thing that I would look for, especially if you're not familiar with coding and stuff, is just the shape of the data that you want to handle in your application. For example, this is the data model. This is very important and anyone can understand this. Each habit is going to have a title, description, emoji, color, when it was created, when it was updated, all this, it's really good. But if you have something in specific that you would like to track, it's a good idea to have it from the first prompt. Before Codex starts coding, it's a good idea to have the data model that you want, because changing it usually means having to change the database and also the UI and refactor the entire application. So if you change the data model as less as possible, it's gonna make changing the application and maintaining it and adding more features easier. That said, if you really want to update the data model, you can do it later on. It's also going to track the habit entries and the settings. This is really good because for each setting, we're going to have a key and value. For example, you can enable haptics or hide the completed habits. Now, this is the time to push back in case you are not happy with the plan or you want something else. Just let Codex know. So what I'm going to do here is just go ahead and approve it and just wait for it. Okay, so Codex is going to ask me to run these commands. So I'm gonna say yes and don't ask again. This is good because it's installing basically some pieces of code to add the functionality that we want. If this is your first time, I would recommend to just accept everything. Okay, Codex is working, and as Codex changes code in the application, it might break a couple things in your app. Maybe you are gonna see something like this. It's a red scary screen. You can just dismiss it, then try again. And now this is basically like reloading the application, and now I can actually see the application that we are building. Now this is a bit funny. I think Codex is starting to trip, and this is something that you might encounter. It's not allowing me to create new habits, right? So what I'm gonna do is just, now that we have a solid foundation, we actually have the screens that we want. Let's go ahead and open a new chat here. Let's start from 0 and let's prompt directly, because now we have the foundation. We don't need to make a plan. I'm just gonna say, add a way to create new habits. Add a button at the top right plus icon. An input and a way to select an emoji and all the entries for a habit. Okay, let's hit enter. Okay, so here's my Android device, and Expo Go on Android actually has a scan QR code button that you can use. Then scan the code. It's gonna load the application. Let's see how this looks. Perfect. So this works on Android as well. Go to the settings screen. The toggles look a bit different, but overall we have the same functionality. Okay, so after a moment, Codex has implemented the plus button, and I can see it now on my phone. Let's add a new item. I'm gonna say hello world, and you can add a nice description here. It's really cool that we can select an emoji here. I don't know, could we go for a run? We can select a color like I asked at the beginning. So let's save this habit. Amazing, and it looks really nice, and we can toggle it, but I don't see it. So let's go to the settings screen. Let's disable the hide completed, and now I can see it and toggle it. Okay, pause for a second. You just got a real application running on your phone, and it also has dark mode. How amazing is that? This is a real application running on your phone using AI. That's mile 1. Now, if you want to take it to the App Store, that's exactly what I wrote my book around. It picks up right where this video ends. App icons, screenshots, permissions, surviving Apple's rejections, emails, and the whole submission process. It's the same workflow that you just learned all the way to live in the store. There's also a chapter on agent skills that will save you weeks. The link is in the description, and yeah, the title says Claude Code, but it's the same mental model for any AI tool. So if you want to support my work, link is in the description, and let's go back to building. So from here, what I do is just make sure that the application is working nicely. On Android, I'm going to just hide the button. That it's pretty annoying. I can press the button, but if you notice, we're missing the icon on Android, but the functionality is pretty much the same. From here, you can just ask Codex to do the changes that you want. Let's add this habit. There we go. You can toggle it as well. And if you want to apply changes to a platform specifically, like on Android, I would like to have a padding here. You can prompt something like, make sure that Android has a nice padding top above the header. Leave iOS as it is. Codex knows that it can make changes to a specific platform. Let's go back to Android and iOS, and now you'll see the difference between the header on the left. We got the update right there, and iOS remained the same. You can again shake and refresh to make sure that we are on the latest changes. And this just looks amazing. Now I'm going to toggle dark mode. It's completely compatible with dark mode. So how cool is that? Congratulations. If you made it this far, you have a real application running on your phone. It works on Android, iOS. It has light and dark mode, and you're ready to put it on the store. If you want to go further, the link of the book is in the description. And if you want to keep building with AI, check out this other video. I'll see you there.